YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after Sunday's action in Week 14 of the 2021 NFL season. I'm here to give you my takeaways for all those Sunday games. We had a lot of comebacks or attempts at comebacks. Every team's trying to do their best Minnesota Vikings impersonation this week after seeing them play on Thursday night. So, here to break it all down like we do every single Monday. We have weekly content even in the offseason, so join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, follow our Twitter. It's on your screen. There's a link down below. A lot going on that Twitter, so check it out. Ravens and Browns. The Ravens almost pulled off a big-time comeback with all those injuries, including Lamar Jackson going down with an ankle injury in this game, which was unfortunate. Lamar and the Ravens early in this game couldn't really get much going, but wasn't a lot of time to get him going before he got injured. I do think, if Lamar stays healthy in this game, you would think they probably could pull it off. Tyler Huntley played pretty well given the circumstances, especially that, they almost pulled off that comeback. The Browns, they executed early. They kind of took advantage of the injuries. The Ravens, they didn't have a whole lot going for them. They weren't bad running the ball, but they weren't as effective as we're used to seeing them. Kareem Hunt went down too, which was pretty big. So it's not just the Ravens with the injuries, but I guess early, they were executing in the right moments, able to take advantage, able to throw the ball a bit, get the ball downfield a little bit more than we've used to seeing them. But it kind of shut down. I guess that's that style of offense gets pretty conservative, pretty predictable when you're, have a lead. So, the Ravens definitely had an opportunity to come back there. And they, in that last drive of the game, I didn't like the play call of on fourth down, throwing the ball. It looked like the play design, too. Sometimes quarterbacks just kind of panic and go to that. Wasn't a check down, but it was just a short route, obviously, and Denzel Ward defended it perfectly. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of that play. Not a fan of that play. And then you bring up the debate on if they should have went for two when they went for two, because the last time they scored, they would have been able to, if they kicked the previous extra point, they would have been able to go for two then to tie the game. I understand both sides, really. Harbaugh saying that they're better off knowing where they stand. But my argument against that is basically knowing, you want to know beforehand if you're good to go or if you're screwed, And I don't want to ever be and I know they weren't really screwed. They had a chance at the end, but it was kind of a long shot. I'd rather not put that momentum that you have in the long shot category. I'd rather have it where, hey, one more touchdown and we got this. I rather and not the energy where we need more than that, with little time. It kind of brings some guys down a little bit. So I would have been more of a fan of kicking the extra point there and then saving the 2-point conversion there at the end when they scored to be able to tie the game. And now last week against the Steelers, I was fine with going for two at the end of the game. I know people ripped hard off for that one. Totally different situation. I was fine with that. The big play in this game was Myles Garrett with the strip sack. Ends up getting the ball and scoring as well. Clowney had a big sack towards the end of the game as well, so the pass rush duo was definitely fantastic, obviously. But Myles Garrett's big play, was kind of the difference because the Browns at that point kind of got stale on offense. They got pretty predictable, pretty conservative, not much going. So that was a massive play by a big-time player, Myles Garrett. So that was really the difference. Ravens just got hit. Everybody's been getting hit hard. For the most part, everybody's been getting hit hard with injuries. The Browns, an example, but the Ravens really got hit with them. It's been tough. They were looking like a top team in the AFC, and now it might be tough for them to get into playoffs. You look at the rest of the schedule given the injuries at the same time, so it's pretty tough. We'll see if they can clutch up here down the stretch, a tough stretch. They got the Packers next. They got the Rams coming up. They'll have the Steelers again eventually here, so it's going to be tough. Jaguars and Titans, I'm really sick of kind of repeating myself with the Jaguars. It's the same thing every single week. The offense is extremely disappointing. I thought they would be more of an offense team than a defense team at this point. At least they should be because they have some weapons. Trevor Lawrence, even though he's just a rookie, even though he doesn't have the best situation, he should be better. He's very underwhelming. He's very disappointing at this point. Not his best game. It's not just his fault. It's the same stuff we've been talking about. Receivers aren't really getting separation, but the play designs aren't helping them. A lot of long developing plays. They're not running the ball enough. I know the run wasn't effective in the few runs they had with a guy like, we'll say, James Robinson, but the Titans, weren't really doing much offensively. They were staying conservative purposely because they were basically saying, hey, Jaguars, you can't score on us. We're daring you to score on us, So I thought there was still room to run the ball. But, yeah, a big problem with, it's not, the receivers aren't getting separation, but it's not all their fault either. Again, it's a long developing plays. Jimmy Smith called out the receiving coaching. I blame the whole coaching staff, but I don't know. It's kind of a disaster there, obviously, and not the best game for Trevor Lawrence, panicking under pressure even when it's not there yet, throwing the ball to the wrong team, obviously. We saw that in his last game against Ohio State. He didn't play too well in that game under pressure, so some things to work on there. The Titans were bringing some pressure here in this game, kind of getting in his head. So really good. We saw the Titans defense really took a step up this year. I know a lot of teams have been slowing down the Jaguars offense, but this is a really good outing. Obviously, anytime you get a shutout, it is. Titans offensively, I think they could have done a little better, kind of playing for third and even felt like fourth down sometimes, kind of playing for that fourth down. Ultra conservative, but I do think it was purposely done. They have had their fair share of injuries on offense. It's just kind of take it easy. They can't score on us. They're not threatening us. So it's understandable, I suppose. I think they could have done a little more offensively. But Titans defense very much impressed this year, very much impressed in this game. They're going to get healthier on offense here going forward. So let's see. They're trying to fight for that. Really feels like they'll be in the playoffs. They are right behind the Patriots right now. And they're trying to fight for that 1 seed. So see if they can get that done. Jaguars feels like the season's been over, but it feels disastrous right now. Texans next. I don't know who the hell to pick in that game. Raiders and Chiefs. The Chiefs are on fire. They're back, and they really gave it to the Raiders. The Raiders pregame go to the Chiefs logo in the middle there. Show a little disrespect, and the Chiefs give it to them for that. First play of the game, Josh Jacobs trying to create something out of nothing, which I'm okay with. But really, you saw that coming. The way he was carrying that ball, just kind of really loose with it. And Jaron Reed, big-time player, forces that fumble. Mike Hughes picks it up, scoops it, scores for a touchdown, scoops and scores, it really set the tone right there. And the Chiefs just kept making plays. Been playing the same way they've been playing on defense, which is looking like they went from one of the worst, maybe the worst defensive football to one of the best right now. It's ridiculous. And they just continue to make plays. They're not going to ball out, getting their hands on the ball, blitzing in crucial situations, forcing the Raiders to, because the Raiders' game offensively, well, they, when their offense is on, they can do a bit of everything, but they like to throw the ball downfield. They really do. And they took that away. They forced the Raiders to throw underneath. Mainly by the blitz and getting good pressure. I see Melvin Ingram was a fantastic addition there for the Chiefs. Raiders just couldn't get much going. It's just, I was talking about on Twitter, it's just kind of mind-blowing that the Raiders just do what they do in the second half of the season every single year. And then people predict it to happen, like I can't fully trust the Raiders, and the fans get a little mad about that, but then the Raiders go and do that again and again and again and again and again. I don't know. Really don't know what has to change. A lot probably has to change for them to be, and they could be a good team with their current team, but just very hard to trust them. So just a sloppy game from them. Just look like a very bad team. The Chiefs look like the top contender maybe in a game like this. Absolutely dominant. Like how they get all the running backs involved. They get everybody going. Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting going there. They're hitting those downfield throws. It's just good to see. Chiefs playing real good football here. The Raiders it's just both these teams kind of back to normal. That's kind of what it is here in a game like this. You like to see it for a team like the Chiefs. You hate to see it for a team like the Raiders. Raiders will play the Browns on Saturday in a Saturday game this upcoming week. That's the first one. We got Patriots-Colts in the night game. Winnable game for the Raiders. Winnable game for the Browns. It's a big one if they want to stay in the playoff race, so we'll see what happens there. Impressed with the Chiefs. It's kind of what we expected them to do at this point, though, of the season. Saints and Jets. Maybe this one, the Saints completely outplayed the Jets. They had control the whole game, but maybe a little closer. And the score showed, at the end, Taysom Hill broke a run loose. Jets can't really stop the run. We saw that. We especially saw that midseason. Alvin Kamara comes back. Good to see him back. He's making some big-time plays, a big-time player, one of the biggest in football. And then Taysom Hill ran it obviously very well. It's really all the Saints needed there was to run the ball effectively in a game like this. They didn't have too much action in the passing game, and they tried to a little bit early. But yeah, they didn't need much. Talked about their defense was the running game, and the defense was going to win the game for them. And that was kind of the case here. Zach Wilson threw the ball a lot of times, over 40 times. He didn't complete a lot of passes. Didn't have much to work with in this game, actually. I mean, there was some throws he would like back. He open guy, barely misses him. And there's been times where I've worried a little bit during the year. I'm not really too worried about a game like this, even though the stats will show he incompleted a lot of passes. And sure, he could do better. Not a lot to work with in this game. I wasn't thrilled. I'm not really worried about their play calls. I've liked their play calling throughout the year. Didn't really love it in this game. Again, not much to work with for the quarterback, for the play calling. Receivers not getting too great of separation there. I actually thought Wilson, given what the defense was giving him, I thought he was moving around the pocket a little better than he has been. It's just kind of a tough outing, an unfortunate outing, one that you just, all right, let's just forget about that one. We'll move on. We'll try to get healthier, try to get some guys back here. So kind of one of those games. Saints run a big losing streak, and they get off that. They get a big win here. That's kind of what they needed. They'll play the Bucs next Sunday night, who they have some pretty good success game planning and playing against those Buccaneers there in the regular season. So we'll see what happens there. But it's good for the Saints to get a win there. Cowboys and Washington football ends up being a one-score game, 27-20. The Cowboys were dominating this game from the start. Washington, I think the next outing against these two teams could be different. I think how these teams started really painted a picture for this game, really. And that doesn't mean, if Washington starts a little cleaner and the Cowboys maybe don't turn the ball over, doesn't mean I think Washington for sure wins or anything like that. I do think the Cowboys were the better team. They just outplayed them. But Washington kind of, the way they started, which was sloppy, and Heineke wasn't playing his best game. The offensive line wasn't playing the best game. The Cowboys were getting after him. Randy Gregory making a ridiculous play. Micah Parsons getting 2 sacks, getting that forced fumble that was picked up by Dorrance Armstrong in return for a touchdown. DeMarcus Lawrence getting going. So, and Neville Gallimore, see him getting going, him being back. Finally, it's a good interior defensive lineman. So, the Cowboys' defensive front, their constant pressure really blew things up. But Washington, with that sloppy start and getting down, letting Cowboys get momentum, well, not really the momentum part, but just getting down, it kind of took a big part, the part of Washington football's offense away, which was, using the running game, but Antonio Gibson, they weren't able to really get him going because of how they started here. So, if you don't start that sloppy, you can kind of keep your game plan, your big part of your game in the game, and who knows how the game goes. I do think the Cowboys are the better team. They were the better team. They created those plays. And then they got going at crucial situations. It was a third down situation. They get CeeDee Lamb the ball underneath and just kind of missing. It was later in the game, forcing missed tackles, evading defenders, and that was a huge play and not a great play from Washington's defense. What we don't expect there. So plays like that. Dak really wasn't on his best game, I don't think, and that's kind of a bad and a good thing there. Dak could play better. A little sloppy. Where's he throwing the ball? Hitting Landon Collins on one. Cole Holcomb gets the pick six. Just didn't see him creeping up. Big play by Cole Holcomb to kind of keep Washington in the game there, which made it a wild game. At that point, put them back in the game. So Dak really didn't play his best game. You don't like to see that sloppiness. You don't like to see that, but he was pretty sloppy, and they still won the game. They still put up 27 points. So that's a good way of looking at it. I just thought the Cowboys' defensive front really clutched up and pulled this game off. They missed Tony Pollard a bit too. You see that kind of in the offense and in the return game. They actually missed him pretty by a good amount there, I thought. Heineke goes down. Kyle Allen comes in. He actually kind of gives him a boost. And then he gets strip sacked there at the end when they had a shot. So that was unfortunate for them. Kind of needs to get rid of the ball there, but. Washington was on a streak, and they're definitely still very much alive, but it's a tough one to lose there, but just got to clean up the early mistakes because they're usually a team that starts so strong where they control the game. They control the time of possession, and they force other teams to try to make a comeback. So this really wasn't them. So I think it's one of those where, we definitely got to forget about that one. It's one of those where I'm sure they'll watch the film where they can get better, but it's just mainly – let's just not be sloppy early. Let's take care of the ball, and we just can't let those things happen. Offensive line's got to do a better job. That's probably where they're going to focus on the film, on picking up these different, because Micah Parsons rushing from the inside. on one of those on the strip sack. So just kind of learning and how to pick up these and how to figure out their protections in situations like that. That's really the main focus where they get better. But it's one of those. Let's forget about this because this wasn't Washington football. And talking Washington football when they're on that streak. Because if they start a lot better, they can win a game like this. They'll play the Eagles in a massive game for the NFC East. Two teams, I mean, that's a battle for. I mean, you would think the Cowboys are going to have this division locked up. You would think, but it's still possible. But mainly, you think Washington, Philadelphia. I think there's only room for one of them. I think one of those teams probably makes the playoffs. Actually, I'll actually say that. I think they probably make the playoffs. One of them. There's really only room for one. It's a massive game here, so we'll see. Can't wait for that one. Falcons and the Panthers. Yeah, I got big problems with the Panthers in this one. I got some major problems. And they stand out a little more, a lot more, because they actually had a shot to win this game. It's a winnable game going into it. It's a winnable game during it, and they had a shot to win this game. And the Falcons always kind of let teams, they kind of letting them back in at the end, so end up being a winnable game. They were in the game, and those there's a few of them. Well, first I'd like to point out that how did they not get Matt Ryan? I mean, they got pressure on him, but how did they not sack him once? The Panthers defense, they're good at getting pressure. They got a lot of guys that can get the pressure, get to the quarterback. I loved this defense earlier in the year. I thought it was a top 3 defense, and they were on their way up. And their offense sure didn't help them. They're on the field a lot, so that definitely plays a part. But they've kind of been underwhelming recently. How you don't get to Matt Ryan, how you don't get him down once is pretty bad. Just get him, and that can change the game. Whether it's just a big-time sack on a crucial play, third down, or a strip sack, or forces a bad throw, a panic throw, interception. I don't know how they don't get him. It's a little surprising to me. But I think the major problems mainly were offensively. Even with Joe Brady gone, even with Joe Brady there, with Joe Brady gone, they start well. They start and go score well. They start off the script very well, no matter whoever's coming up with the script, and they go score. It's just kind of the same old story, and then they kind of shut down for a little bit. But a big problem in this one, I know Cam had a bad pick 6, but a big problem with this one is just taking him out that early, putting P.J. Walker in, you get another pick, and now put Cam Newton back in. It sounds like you're getting your ass beat in a game like that. It sounds like it's over, you're just trying some things, and that wasn't the time or place to do that, in my opinion. A big factor was Cam was running extremely well against this Falcons defense. He did it on the first drive where they scored, and he was doing it in the comeback as well during the game. It's no secret that Cam could run. I don't know. You think that play calling, with or without Joe Brady, situational play calling and adjustments within the game, throughout the game, big problem. It was a big problem here today. It looked even messier taking Cam out, putting P.J. Walker in, putting Cam back in. Cam needed to come back in, but it just looked like a big mess. Run him more. Understand what's working. So it's just a bad look on the coaching staff in general. You start to wonder, was it Joe Brady? And the play calling was very bad. They could have won some games. The play calling, it's still the same thing though. So pretty bad job for them. The Falcons, Michael Walker, who's kind of that, I viewed him coming out of Fresno a few years ago as kind of that hybrid type player, kind of what Micah Parsons is doing, more of a poor man's Micah Parsons, off the ball linebacker that's pretty good blitzer. I can see him being an edge rusher if he needs to be that. And you see him drop back and make a pretty instinctive play, jumping that route and getting that interception and run it back for 6. So I think that's a pretty versatile, underrated, under the radar, sneaky good player there. And we see that. A.J. Terrell got his hands in the ball again. He's had a phenomenal year. Offense got going when they needed to. I talked about it, why I picked the Falcons. Cordero wasn't too big of a part, of the last game they played the Panthers. And when he's been the part every game he's played in, so I figured he'd get going more, and you see him getting going more. So that was pretty big. You thought, they gave away the ball. They had a fumble. It's what the Falcons do late in the game to let the team come back. Panthers score, then the Panthers need to stop on the Falcons, and I thought they were going to get the ball back and have a shot there. But Kyle Pitts, that beautifully drawn up play, they get Kyle Pitts coming out underneath just to get him in the ball. Just find a way to scheme him open to get the ball. It's kind of what we've been calling for because he's that dude, And they did that in that scenario. It was a big third down. It was a third down and long. I'm going to say it's a 12, 13, somewhere around there. Panthers got to make that stop. It's just a great play. Just leak Kyle Pitts out. And you see what he can do after the catch as well. So that was a massive play in this game. So the Falcons get that much needed win to stay alive. Panthers, season's kind of dying off here, unfortunately. But they've had winnable games. Coaching staff's to blame. Quarterback play is also to blame. Defense, that was a top 3 defense at one point. It's kind of, the offense struggling takes a toll on them, but it's not playing as well here, but still should be good enough. Seahawks and Texans, I do think, even though the Seahawks had control in this game for the most part, except for very early, I do think this game it felt a lot closer. Seahawks pulled away late, but they get the job done. Once again, they lose the time possession game, which they've been doing a lot. They won it last week, but they've been doing a whole lot of this year. They lose it, but they still win by 20, so it's kind of the bad and good there. But they do got to figure out, well, they were scoring on chunk plays. Rashad Penny, 2 chunk, big play touchdowns. Rashad Penny is very, very talented. People forget that. Why he was a first-round pick, very talented. He's got to stay healthy, and you see the talent in this game, the combination. Kind of a rare combination of physicality, the power and the speed, able to hit the hole, able to make people miss, able to break the tackles, the stiff arm. It's a very talented running back. They got them. Chris Carson and Rashad Penny are very good backs, and they just got the injury problem. So you see, having a solid running back does wonders for the Seahawks offense, and that's the main. They got Russell Wilson, they got DK Metcalf, they got Tyler Lockett. The running game and having the big time running backs is a big piece of the Seahawks offense, and it has been. People forget and people kind of question in the past, like, how are you focused on running the ball first when you have Russell Wilson? And I understand the argument, but it's just a big part of that offense. It's always has been, always will be. And you see Rashad Penny stepping in and having a big time. It's good to see that. You love to see that because he's a very talented player and you forget about it, because he's been injured. So I hope he can stay healthy. Hopefully he can kind of turn things around here because it's a big-time game from him. I think the Seahawks defense kind of clutched up a little bit. They let the Texans kind of get yards, work the field a little bit. They clutched up in the red zone, though. I thought that was pretty big of them because, a guy like Davis Mills played pretty well. They got off to a hot start. They scored right away. He threw for a lot of yards. He was pretty productive. They got Brandon Cooks going. It's just where are those points, though, Where are those points? And there was a game like that, I guess against the Jets there, where they proved they could kind of move the ball and make the big plays, but they kind of just stopped, executing, kind of blame the play callers in that one. I really don't know. I don't really know what the explanation is in this one. They did miss a bad PI at one point where they thought the Texans could score, but that wouldn't have been the difference in the game. I guess it could have changed things. But they showed that your players can go out there and, move the ball, execute. I guess they weren't executing the red zone, though, so it's a tough one there. Seahawks kind of back alive here, trying to sneak back in to the playoffs conversation there, so they can do that. They got to do a little better job winning time possession, controlling the ball, not let teams work the field. I know they clutch up in the red zone. They make some big plays, but it's good to get another win there for Seattle. Lions and Broncos. The Broncos. Well, first, the Lions, they found some guy off the street, Craig Reynolds, a running back. They actually said he was on his couch watching Netflix when he got the call. I thought that was kind of funny. So they really took a guy off the couch there. Craig Reynolds looked like a natural runner, really. Seeing the hole, hitting the hole, making moves after the hole. You see the quickness, the speed, the burst. I don't know. Maybe the Lions found a sneaky one there. We'll see against a good Broncos defense, too. So I did think that was interesting. Other than that, the Lions just got outplayed in this one. The Broncos were better in this game, and they are the better team. The Broncos just pounded the football from the start to get Javonte Williams going early, then they get Melvin Gordon going, and they get Javonte Williams the ball through the air to pass the game. He has a nasty spin move. He gets in the end zone. The guy's a freaking beast. And they get Melvin Gordon going again. I'm just confused on why Melvin Gordon has 9 more carries than Javonte Williams. A little confused on that, but it is what it is. They dominated. They both played. Melvin Gordon played very well, so I don't want to take anything away from him. Just the running game really got going. Albert O had a nice touchdown at the end of the game. I'm not sure the Lions let him go in there, but it's where the Broncos, all they had to do was just pound the football, use that two-headed monster there that they have, and it might be more than that. I think Mike Moon might be pretty good too. But yeah, they control the game. Justin Simmons had an incredible interception. Very instinctive play. Really read it the whole way, knew where that ball was about to go, and really put himself in position to make the ridiculous play and finished it with that diving interceptions. Then goes to put the ball on the Demaryius Thomas tribute there, 88. That was a pretty awesome moment, I thought, and then the team kind of joined him there. That's a hell of an interception by a hell of a ball player right there, and Justin Simmons is a very, very good football player. It seems like it's him and Kevin Byard at the top there with the safeties this year. Especially the free safety. Talk about Justin Simmons playing a lot of single high free and having to scan the field himself back there, responsible for like the whole back half of the field. And people think about hardest positions to play. They think about quarterback, corner, and maybe tackle. Definitely agree, understand. People don't put safety anywhere near the top. But you talk about specifics. Talk about a guy, having that job, kind of playing the back end by himself, having to use his instincts, his range. It's a very hard job, and he does it at a very high level. Not too many guys can do it. That's a good win for the Broncos. You expect them to go take care of business. I didn't expect them to get that many points though. 38 points is a pretty good outing there. Just dominant on the ground. They got a big game coming up against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a huge game right there. Giants and Chargers. Chargers pulled it off 37-21. It felt even bigger of a win than that. Had control most of this game. Justin Herbert had himself a game, puts himself back in that MVP conversation, I'd say. He was in there early. There was a part of the season, brief part, where it felt like, he might be the front runner. He's right there, and then it kind of went away a little bit. Some tough defenses did a good job kind of game plan for him, slowing him down a bit. But then he goes, Giants got a good defense. I know the Giants defense, it's tough to be as good as where you are, what you can be if you're constantly on the field. I know your offense not helping you out, but I still like the Giants defense a lot. But that's the thing, though. I like the Giants defense, very good defense, and Justin Herbert kind of diced him up there. I mean, that bomb got outside the pocket, was kind of on the move. He didn't really throw on the run, but that's a good thing. He kind of settled himself. A lot of quarterbacks, especially young ones, in that situation, they understand. When they understand, sometimes they don't understand. They got to get outside the pocket and get on the run, move their ass a little bit. But a lot of them do these days. A lot of these young ones, the gunslingers, and they'll get outside the pocket and they'll be wide open out there. It was wide open for Justin Herbert out there. It's a good job recognizing that, getting out there. But a lot of these young quarterbacks will get out there and they'll try to make that highlight play. They'll try to throw on the run, off their back foot, just wild looking. Sometimes they hit it and it's a beautiful thing. But Justin Herbert, what people don't talk about there, did a perfect job just settling down there. He didn't need to throw that ball on the run because he had a lot of space, and he settles down, stops his movement and unleashes that ball. But a big thing is sometimes when quarterbacks do that, they really got to stop the momentum. It takes them a little bit of times. It took him no time at all to do it. The throw was pretty ridiculous. Throw was on the money. It was, how many yards was that? 60, I don't know, top of my head, 66, somewhere around there. Ridiculous. Thinking about he just came from on the run and had to stop himself and throw in, blink of an eye like that. It's just a beautiful ball. But I look at just being smart on that play, being able to get outside the pocket, understand the situation, have eyes in the back of your head, knowing that I don't want to make this stupid, ridiculous throw if I don't have to. I'm going to settle down real quick and fire it, make a perfect ball. It's exactly what he did. He had big plays like that all game. He used his legs all game, making good defenses. He's stretching the field by himself because they got to worry about his legs. They got to worry about him running. They got to worry about getting outside the pocket. They got to worry about that ball downfield or anywhere. So in a game like that, it shows that Justin Herbert's this offense. I know they got a great player in Austin Eckler. Mike Williams is a solid player. He disappears sometimes. A guy like Jalen Guyton can get some separation downfield, has some speed. He caught that big-time ball. But Justin Herbert's kind of creating all these things. And again, a guy like Austin Eckler is a great player. Keenan Allen wasn't in the game. He's a great player. But Justin Herbert he is, and he should be. If you want this guy to be the top pick to live up to that, and he wants to, he should be the offense. But he is the offense right now. And it kind of, in a game like this, against good defense and making that known and doing the little things right, being smart on top of that, puts him back in the MVP conversation, in my opinion. Just kind of being consistent now. Kind of, don't let... there was some games that he wasn't, the Broncos game wasn't all there. Maybe the Ravens or the Patriots games. Let's not let that's okay that those happen. Young quarterback. But But let's stay consistent now, which I think he is right now, and keep on going here. They got a big game Thursday night against the Chiefs, massive game. Thursday Night Football in LA. Cannot wait for that. For the Giants, the game plan. We said it. The game plan kind of needed to be, against the Chargers, bad run defense. Got Saquon Barkley. Let's run the ball. He needs to run the ball. He needs way more carries than Mike Glennon has throws, and that didn't end up being the case. Mike Glennon had almost double the runs. Usually we kind of blame the play callers for this, but the problem, you can't really on this one. The problem was they got down so fast that they really couldn't do. They really had no choice. But Barkley was running pretty well. I guess maybe you could have ran the ball a little more. You could have done a little more early on. But yeah, it's a much needed and good win for the Chargers there. 49ers and Bengals, wild game here. End up going to overtime. Bengals trying to pull up the comeback. I really think, the 49ers were pretty damn lucky to win this one. The Bengals muffed 2 punts kind of on their own. Darius Phillips, and that kind of gifted the 49ers 10 points at the end of the game. The 49ers were trying to get there. They did get in field goal range, but they tried to get down there. Garoppolo just gift wraps a ball right to Jesse Bates, Jesse Bates, we're talking 99 out of 100 times catches that ball, and that was wide open for 6. He drops it, that 99 out of 100 at one time. That's kind of how I feel about that type of player, and that could have won the game right there. So I do think the 49ers, they got some help in that one, even though they had a lead, and I do got to give the 49ers credit that defense played well early and made plays, obviously, and they execute off the muff punts, getting 10 points off them. And the defense, the Bengals get the ball first in overtime. The defense slows them up. I really wish the Bengals went back to throwing the ball downfield there, but they stop them, get the ball back, and then they didn't really have too many great drives in this game. Because remember, they got 10 points starting in the Bengals' end, but they put together a beautiful drive in that situation there, getting down the field. I mean, George Kittle was clutch in this game, was big time. Ayuk had a fantastic touchdown there in the end. So they really clutch up. Garoppolo has a good last drive there. So that was a beautiful drive there for the 49ers to go put this game away and win the game in overtime without even starting the ball first. The Bengals, I did not like the play calling, in the first half of this game. The 49ers are kind of beat up at corner, and even though whether they're beat up or not, I thought the teams had success kind of throwing downfield against 49ers when they didn't, catch the ball, kind of forcing interference calls, obvious ones too. The Bengals just weren't really throwing downfield, maybe only a couple times early in this game, and one of them went to Jamar Chase, which was originally called a touchdown, and it wasn't a touchdown, it was the right call, but it kind of looked like the Bengals we can't get anything going. Wrong. That worked. Even though you didn't score, it doesn't mean it didn't work. It worked. It was there. So really confused the Bengals weren't throwing downfield. And then they started throwing downfield, and they moved the ball, and they scored points, and they came back. So there's too many mistakes in this one. Again, muffing punts, dropped interception. I guess that happens. But just, big one, just the play calling, not going downfield. And then look at overtime. And Joe Mixon's been big. He's been big time. He's been great. They've been winning games because of Joe Mixon. But kind of you got to understand the situation too. What was working? Joe Burrow clutching up, Jamar Chase clutching up, T. Higgins clutching up, Tyler Boyd. Downfield game was working. Tyler Boyd's not. They even got him going downfield, which he can, but he's kind of a slot, underneath guy. He's a do-it-all guy, but you get my point. Everything was working downfield. And then you kind of go back to the run to runs, and Joe Mixon having the same amount of carries as Joe Burrow throwing in overtime is not really ideal. So I think understanding the situation and not going, well, Joe Mixon won us these games in our recent win streak, and he's been incredible. And that, I agree, 100%. But so that means we got to give him the ball here. No, you got to understand the situation, understand what's going to work against your opponent. So I like Zach Taylor. This wasn't the best one though. I guess the adjustments were good, but then kind of going away from what was working in overtime. I thought that this was a very, very, very winnable game for the Bengals, and they might make the playoffs. I think they're talented enough, but there's a shot that they don't make the playoffs, and we'll be in the playoffs, and we can be thinking, man, the Bengals could be here. Let's look what happened. You look back at a game like this, it's going to hurt a little bit. 49ers stay in control there, and they're staying in there. Obviously, I think the they could be a little more consistent on offense. There's just a lot of stale drives there, but they clutch up. I like that drive at the end to go win the game. Bills and Bucks ends up being a wild one here. The Bucks were in big control, and they allowed the Bills to come back here. Bills lost this game because of game plan. They lost this game. They had great adjustments. They had a very bad game plan entering this game, and maybe adjustments within the first half weren't good either. That's how they lost this game. They dug themselves in a hole. I mean, it was very obvious. We actually talked about it during the week, but it was very obvious for anybody that you can throw on the Bucks, but you like what really works is throwing underneath, getting the ball out quick because they do have good pressure. They've got a good pass rush. Get the ball out underneath. The corners play a lot of soft coverage. They got Richard Sherman playing safety. Get the ball underneath. Make them play up, and then you play your game. Then you play your downfield game. Then you take your shots. And everybody ripping the Bills for not running the ball like at all. And they need to run the ball more. They for sure need to run the ball more, but you didn't really need to run the ball much at all to win this game. That you're not going to beat the Bucs running the ball. It's a dominant, elite run defense. It is. And the Bills don't have the most threatening run game when they do run. I know they started to pull off some bigger runs at the end. It's just because the Bucs were just like, they're not running. So it's just very, very unpredictable. Talk about unpredictable. I think that's why. So you can't really go, see, they could have ran the whole game. No, not really. They should have ran more early, but no. What they should have done was come out throwing underneath, quick slants, use Cole Beasley because he's in the slot. He's gonna have easy separation. Get Diggs going on back shoulders, slants, crosses, drags, any of that. Get that going, and then it may open the deep ball. If it doesn't, that means the underneath is still open. And they weren't really doing that. They were long developing plays. They were going downfield, nothing short. It's just stupid. It's just a mistake. It's just not knowing your opponent at all and just insisting on only your game, not trying to branch off there. So it was a very bad job there. Offensive line wasn't helping. It's not really the offensive line's fault, though. It's just the long developing plays just kind of live or die by the downfield plays. It's just a bad game plan, some bad play calls, but I don't think there were situational play calls, and they kind of just had it in their head pregame. So it's a very bad job. And Tom Brady making some beautiful throws. He had two ridiculous ones to Mike Evans. One just barely over defenders to Mike Evans, makes a ridiculous catch. Off his back foot, about to get hit. Lofts one to Mike Evans. I don't know which one's better, just ridiculous. The Bills defense kind of pissed off Tom Brady at one point early, and he really got going after that. Those throws happened. He ran a few times. So you don't piss off Tom Brady. Lesson learned. Fournette's been fantastic. It's a great start. And these stretch run plays, those look good. You see him with the quickness, even the speed. He can break tackles. He's catching the ball very, very well, running after the catch. After that, really like what I'm seeing from Leonard Fournette. But kind of back to the Bills, and you go to the second half. What do? They like I said, adjustments are great. Game plan, pretty terrible. And so what did they do in the second half? What everyone understands, it's not just me. It's what everyone understands. What will work against the Bucs, what the Bills need to do. They start going underneath. Cole Beasley was big time in the second half. It's a slot receiver that knows how to get open underneath. He's going to beat the slot corner or sometimes a linebacker or safety every time. Just getting open, using Diggs a little more underneath, trying to get the back shoulder going. Gabriel Davis getting him the ball, and he's fighting after the catch. Even if it's short yardage, run the ball a little more. And that opened about everything up, but they kind of mainly kept going towards that because it was working in the Bucs. It's already in the fourth quarter here. We don't really have time to adjust. We don't have a halftime to sit down and adjust and change things here. So that's why the Bills came back, ran Josh Allen more, spread the ball out, make guys chase Cole Beasley around the outside, and then Josh Allen runs, getting some things going. It's just obvious on why it worked, and it was obvious that needed to be done earlier. And there's a good and bad thing here because the good thing is, the Bills, they show that they can do that. They can do it, and they understand. They finally understood what worked there, and that's good. And I see some people saying that, all right, they're figuring it out a little bit. Against the Bucs team, they understand what needs to be done. Maybe they get get in the playoffs, go on that run, and maybe make a playoff run because of that. And I understand that for sure. My problem is I don't trust them to know their opponent because that's the underneath game, and they need to do that more in every game, and that's kind of the good thing here. but they didn't understand their opponent coming into this one. It took a half of football, and now are they going to turn around and do that against other teams when it doesn't work against every team? So I still question it. I still question them game planning and understanding their opponent and not taking a whole half to figure it out. So I still question that a little bit. So this one's definitely on the staff. Defensively, too, a little bit of a mess. They couldn't stop the run. Some of that's on the players kind of being out of position. But then they were worried about because the Buccaneers started with the underneath game. They started running the ball. They started getting Fournette the ball in space, just getting the players the ball in space, and they had to bring the safeties up to kind of stop that. And then, okay, Tom's going to dump it over your head, get it over your heads here, getting downfield. So they had a little bit of a mess going on there, but then they kind of buckled down, figured it out defensively. It's just too late. And they had an opportunity in overtime. Bucs just showing it a better team there in overtime, clutching up, making a stop. And then, Perriman I can't believe he had that much space on that play. It's a good play call there, but he had a ton of space, just kind of had to beat one guy, which he had beat from the start and got open. There was some questionable calls in this game. I thought Diggs was kind of getting grabbed a bit on some of them. There were people were complaining about where I thought there was equal contact, both defense, offense, so I wasn't really the Bills got completely screwed, but there was some questionable ones for sure, ones they probably missed. I was surprised Diggs wasn't complaining for a call on some of those. He kind of just went back to the huddle. So some questionable calls. A lot of it's not one of those. There's always the people like, oh, Brady got the refs. They rig it for Brady. It's not. There are no calls like that. There's ones where I look at and like it should have been called. The Bills should have got a call there, but you kind of could see it like, yeah, I could see why it's understandable why they don't call it or why some crews maybe in their views is not really a call. Just wish they'd be a little more consistent. But really the Bills lost because the game plan entering this game, wrong game plan, too long to adjust, not good. Who had 75 as their total for the Packers? Bears. Nobody did. 30 to 40, 45 to 30 here. The Packers pull it off. Reminded me of the Packers-Lions game earlier, primetime game. Was that Monday night? Packers started off slow. Lions were outplaying them. Packers dominate them like they should in the second half. Somewhat similar here. Kind of remind me of primetime divisional game. But yeah, I guess there are a little bit of things to worry about in the Packers defense. In the last few years, they've been pretty bad stopping the run mainly, and that I don't know if that was really the case here. But specifically, it was kind of underneath plays, in space where no one's there to help, bad angles, things like that. And that kind of showed in the game like this, getting Jakeem Grant the ball underneath and he goes, just nobody really there, some poor angles, just no help again in the back end. And the same thing to Bird, it was an underneath play. So our team's going to start game planning for that, scheming things up there, getting guys open underneath and just, because if you take a bunch of those shots a game, I guess the defense like that kind of shows a weakness there. You might be able to hit some home runs. Obviously, it's what the Bears did in this game. So that's something they can work on. Special teams definitely need some work. It was an absolute mess in this game. Jakeem Grant returned that punt, one that he shouldn't even field. But I like that he fields it because the Bears need something. They need something going because they don't have a whole lot of offense. And he takes that one to the house. It's ridiculous. It's a hell of a play there. He had a big game, Jakeem Grant. And, the Packers just clutch up and adjust for the second half offensively, especially. Bears were getting good pressure on Rodgers. There wasn't a lot of separation from the receivers. Lazard was kind of the bigger guy early in the game, making a contested catch, getting a touchdown on fourth down, which was huge. But yeah, Jalen Johnson was actually locking down Davante Adams along the sideline, and that was impressive. And it was very clear the Bears were in man coverage. They're in man coverage. It's one of those defenses that like to run man coverage. No secret. But why you have to mix it up, where Davante Adams had that big play, and so Davante Adams kind of getting locked up by Jalen Johnson on the sideline. They're in man coverage. They're still in man coverage. It's pretty obvious. We're going to run a play. It's chances are they're still in man coverage. Let's put Davante Adams in the slot because he can play in the slot. Jalen Johnson won't be man on him, and we'll scheme a play up, and he's open, and a nice run after a catch. Doesn't have to go too far, but made some guys miss and touchdowns. So that's kind of a knock, I think, on the Bears' defense. They're play calling on the defense. I think you got to mix it up so you don't become predictable. But then Adams kind of was back on Johnson a little bit and got going more and more as the game went on, going inside. Credit to Jalen Johnson. I think he's very good cover, physical and being tight in coverage on the sideline. I think where you kind of beat him where they had to go away from him to get things going. but kind of getting inside, getting some quick double move routes on the inside underneath. I think that's where you kind of get him. But I was impressed overall. But yeah, Devontae Adams picking up. Everybody picking up there. Rodgers making some good throws. Yeah, not using Aaron Jones a lot. And, is he 100%? If he's not 100%, should he be in there? I know he's still useful and he's still a big, has that catch for a touchdown. So I ended up had 2 touchdowns. But, A.J. Dillon getting significant more carries than him, so you wonder about that. I think the Packers were trying some things, though. A lot of different plays, unique motions, which they do quite a bit of, but just different plays. So they might have been trying some things out here in this game, too. Rasul Douglas, another pick 6. It's crazy how well he's playing. They just kind of got him off the Cardinals practice squad, but he's kind of been moving around. But the Packers, Billy Turner get hurt, so maybe more injuries there, but they should be getting some guys back here. But, crazy second half for them, 45 points, got 2 picks. For Justin Fields, again, it's the same thing. You see the talent is there. He's got the talent. You see him running, how he runs, how he's able to buy himself time, make a throw. But still needs some things to work on. Pick 6, he was staring down his receiver for a very long time. Then he was kind of, in the end of the game, he was trying those jump passes, which one was picked, but both really should have been picked. So maybe let's not try to force the jump passes. But you see the talent is there. Just has to play a little better. Maybe getting his groove. Maybe not starting the year, then getting thrown in, then kind of getting taken out because of the injury, getting thrown back in, Sunday night game. It's understandable, I suppose. I just got to work on some things there. I just don't like seeing him kind of staring down a guy. That's the one where I don't like him seeing. I don't like seeing that. But again, talent's there. It's got to get it out of him more consistently. The Bears will play again prime time against the Vikings next Monday. So we'll see how they do there. The Packers keep rolling. They'll play the Ravens next week. We'll see if Lamar's in or out. But another good win for the Packers. They started a little sloppy. Got to work on the special teams. Got to work on those angles and having help in the back end on those underneath big plays they allowed. But so some things to work on, some negative things, but they still won. They still scored 45 points, kind of the good thing there. But that's going to do it for the recap for Week 14. We're back every single week with these videos. We got weekly picks and a lot more where that came from. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow us on Twitter, link down below for that. It's a must follow. Much appreciated if you help us out. It's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.